Hey, it's Ted McGrath. So I wanted to go live really quickly. I know people have been asking about the MicroStrategy price drop and what's the cause of it. I'm just going to give some things that you're probably hearing about or reading about. And some of this could be complete speculation of what we're hearing in the media. And I'm going to cite kind of what happened and so what some of the sources are saying. The true answer I have for it is I don't know the exact answer. And I don't know that anybody truly does know why the drop is there, but we can speculate as to why. But I think it's important to wait for Michael Saylor to verify some of the things that have just been done. So, number one, first and foremost, the Wall Street Journal talked about MicroStrategy, and they mentioned that they could be, have basically with their bonds, about $1 billion of their convertible notes from 2020, they paid back today. And so the rumor is that they're doing that because they need liquidity because of something called the alternative minimum tax, which was something that was put in place around 2022 by Biden's administration. I don't think that's actually true. And I think that's speculation. I think there's two things when I look at the convertible note strategy for MicroStrategy. Number one, the first thing is when you look at what they're doing with convertible notes, basically they're getting loans from big investors. They take that money and they buy Bitcoin. That's been their strategy all along. Okay. Back when they did this a couple months ago, they did some convertible notes of about $3 billion for the convertible notes. They did them at a price point when MicroStrategy shares were around $433 per share at the time. Obviously, the shares are lower. They dropped about 352 or what have you today, right? But the whole idea on the convertible notes and the reason they get an interest rate at 0% is that the people who are loaning them money are basically making a bet. And when they did the convertible notes recently for $3 billion, the investors that were loaning MicroStrategy money, so MicroStrategy could go buy Bitcoin, the investors were basically saying, here's my money. They were doing it at a share price around $433. Whatever amount of money they gave, we know in total it's about $3 billion of convertible notes. And so the bet is that when MicroStrategy hits around $672, I think it is going from memory, that they can convert that money that they gave MicroStrategy into stock. So when you hear the words like a 55% premium, that basically means that the person who's loaning MicroStrategy money is betting that at the current share price, which is 433 at the time of the convertible note, that it's going to go up to 672, which is about a 55% increase over that share price. So 433, 672, the person saying, hey, I'll loan you the money. Take my billions of dollars. My bet is when it hits over $672 on the share price, I can convert that into stock. And as somebody who loaned you money, I make a shitload of money as a result of doing it. That's the basic play of the people loaning them money for these convertible notes. If for some reason they don't hit a $672 share price in the future, then they can just get their money back, and they just get their money back, period. And it's zero coupon. There's no interest paid on it. Okay. Now, if I had to guess on why this is why they paid back the debt from 2020 on the convertible notes from then, which was about $1 billion. If I had to guess why it was, I would say that then they were paying 0.75% interest. So back in 2020, they're paying 0.75% interest. So if I'm looking at this, and this is just my opinion, if I'm borrowing $1 billion at 0.75% and I'm paying interest every year on that in 2020, but in 2024, I just got $3 billion at 0%. Of course, if I have excess cash, I would take some of my money and pay off the debt that I'm paying a 0.75% interest rate on, which is the debt they secured back in 2020. So paying that debt off, why Saylor did it or not, or why MicroStrategy did it, I should say, we'll have to wait to hear from them the official sources on it, or you can search the web to find a reliable source on it. There's speculation or rumors that the Wall Street Journal is saying they did it because of a liquidity crunch, and they need the money because they might have to pay a tax called the alternative minimum tax that was designated in 2022 by Biden. Okay, so I don't think that, I mean, MicroStrategy, when they were doing this strategy of um, borrowing money, which they're still doing to buy Bitcoin, issuing shares to buy Bitcoin, as they're doing this, they've known what they're doing all along. And if there was going to be this tax, which is called the alternative minimum tax, which basically says if you have $1 billion of profit, for corporations, $1 billion of profit, you might have to pay 15% tax on that $1 billion of profit. And it could pertain to companies that have unrealized capital gains, like MicroStrategy, which isn't selling their Bitcoin, but could have unrealized capital gains because of all the Bitcoin they bought and the increase in their Bitcoin. Now, Trump's administration comes in, they pass a new law that appears that it's probably going to reverse that alternative minimum tax based on what we're seeing. Despite what happens with the Trump administration, MicroStrategy knew what they were doing all along in terms of issuing shares and borrowing money to buy Bitcoin. So I don't think they're pinched for a liquidity crisis. I don't think they were paying back the bonds from 2020 of $1 billion recently all of a sudden because they're pinched for liquidity. I don't think that's the reason at all. As far as why the stock drops, there's a couple reasons we could make for this. Number one, maybe some of the news that the Wall Street Journal spread recently, or whatever sources spread this about a liquidity crunch or what have you, could have made investors fearful. That could be one reason. I'm just speculating on this. Number two, they issued shares earlier in the week. Anytime they tap the ATM, sometimes we see this happen with the MicroStrategy stock price, it drops. In the meantime, when they tap the ATM and they issue more shares, they temporarily dilute the shares. But for the long term, for us who are shareholders, it's really good that they issue shares because they're buying more Bitcoin. And the more Bitcoin they buy, the more Bitcoin we own per share as a shareholder. So that's really, really good long term. So the sentiments of MicroStrategy are still extremely bullish. Whatever's floating around about what they did or didn't do today, go fact check it. I was reading some of the sources of what some people are saying, and I'm going to wait to see what Saylor says and what they're saying about what's happening with MicroStrategy. Apparently, paying back $1 billion of debts on their convertible notes from 2020. To me, that's a really good thing. I would love to pay off bad debt to then take on good debt. And bad debt would be debt that has a higher interest rate to it, which means the debt they secured in 2020 on the convertible notes had a higher interest rate and has a higher interest rate than the debt they're securing today with their convertible notes. The convertible notes they're securing today are at 0% interest for the most part. Okay. So to me, that's just a smart financial move. Who wouldn't do that? Right. So that's my basic update for the day. That's, some rumors are floating around about this. You start to read the headlines. Could MicroStrategy be in a liquidity crunch? I think they know what they're doing. Saylor knows what he's doing. The Trump administration is in. Things are bullish for crypto. They continue to secure. They're going to continue to secure convertible notes, or I should say, issue them and borrow money to buy more Bitcoin. They're going to continue to issue shares to where they get more money and they buy Bitcoin, and that's their playbook, and they're going to continue to do it. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about. If you look at MicroStrategy and you've owned it since early 2024, like I have, in fact, the first shares I ever bought were back in 2020, but the majority of the shares that I bought were early 2024 in February. So I've been holding this stock for about a year now with the majority of my holdings. And if you watch the price at any given time, this thing moves up and down, man. Okay. This is how it rolls. All right. So when we see a movement up 5%, down 10%, a movement up 20%, down 20%. Again, I'm not giving financial advice on this, but I've seen this stock move like this over and over and over and over again. Okay. I remember back in February when I aped into this stock, and then we saw a period where it shot through the roof before the stock split. Then we saw it drop down in that time period, 40% or so. So we're not talking about a 40% drop today. We're talking about a small drop. While Bitcoin is going up, we've seen this before. Bitcoin goes up a little bit like it did today, and MicroStrategy's stock is dropping. Long term, am I concerned about it? No. But I just wanted to report because I saw in the comments of my last video that I did, some people were like, well, what's going on with MicroStrategy today? Yeah, so Anthony's saying it's pure FUD, right? Exactly. So the rumors that are being passed on about this, I agree with you. It is FUD. And so if you're reading rumors about this, about a liquidity crunch or things like that, I don't think it's true. I think Saylor knows exactly what he's doing. I think MicroStrategy as a whole, as a company, knows exactly what they're doing. I think they have their playbook. They're going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to hold Bitcoin. They're going to continue to issue more debt. They're going to take that money and buy Bitcoin. They're going to continue to issue more shares in the marketplace. They're going to take that money and buy Bitcoin, and they're going to hold their Bitcoin, period. That's the playbook. So, we see these moves in the price point, and it happens, right? It happens. So let's see how we look next week. Overall, it's been a really good week of great news. The fact that MicroStrategy bought $1.1 billion more of Bitcoin early in the week is a great news for our shareholders, which is us. Of course, this is not financial advice. It's not legal advice. It's not tax advice. But for me personally, I'm excited about it because every time he buys more Bitcoin, it's good for us as shareholders long term. Okay. So hope this serves you. It's been a great week with the news with the digital stockpile that Congress should be passing on what that's going to look like soon. How long that's going to take, we don't know. But the fact that Trump has put together an executive order on this, the excitement is here, and we're all excited for the future. It's very bullish for crypto. It's very bullish for the outlook of Bitcoin. It's very bullish for MicroStrategy, and it's all good. And I think anytime you have good news that comes out, you have papers and media that like to put counter news to what's happening. The most important thing is do your research and fact check things. Anything I'm saying right now, go fact check it, form your own opinions of it. But ultimately, I just wanted to reinstill my faith in what we're doing or what I'm doing with MicroStrategy, my faith in what I'm doing with Bitcoin, my long-term bullishness on it, and it's going to be a great freaking year. So I hope this serves you guys. Have a great rest of the day. If you're just joining us, I was just reporting on the fact that there's been some news, some papers. I'm not going to say who are talking about. Hey, could MicroStrategy be going into the liquidity crunch? Might they have to pay unrealized capital gains on their Bitcoin that they're holding and not selling? I think it's all bullish for MicroStrategy. I think Michael Saylor knows what he's doing. I think pay attention to what he's going to be saying over the next week or 2 weeks as Trump's in office and settling into office. And the MicroStrategy playbook is laid out, and I'm sticking with it. I'm not selling any MicroStrategy. So that's where I'm at. Not financial advice. Hope this serves you. And wherever you got in, hey, I understand people buy in sometimes later in the game. I got in very, very early in MicroStrategy. So, I can talk from a right side of the mouth to go, hey, I'm not worried when it drops 10, 20, 30%, because I'm still way, way up in profits. But I do understand if somebody bought in at 400 or 450 or 480 and are concerned when the stock price goes down, I totally get it. My personal feeling is I'm holding. I will be holding throughout this year, and I will be looking for a good time to take profits. And that's not going to be any time in the next month or two. I'm just going to be holding, watching the bull run, enjoying the new administration, enjoying the bullishness in the crypto space, and having a lot of fun with it. So I hope it serves you. I'll see you guys on the flip side.